And basically, you could take anything, any superfood or herb that you eat, goji berries, and just throw them into an alcoholic tincture for 2 weeks.
The thing is that 40% alcohol is about the minimum that you want to use, because if it's less than that, fermentation can start to happen. But at 40% alcohol, there's really no bacteria can live in that concentration of alcohol. And it can't really go bad because it's already, alcohol by nature already has gone bad. So it's done that. You can do the same thing with vinegar. If you take apple cider vinegar, you could, if you take your apple cider vinegar, pour it into, say, like a mason jar with your herb in there, cover it with apple cider vinegar, leave it 2 weeks. That used to be called pickling, and that was really an herbal technique for...
Again, it's 4-to-1 ratio.
Well, that's not a science. 4-to-1 is what most health industry companies are using. Actually, for yourself, you can make them a lot stronger. That's what they're doing. That's kind of the standard. They tend to underdose people in herbalism, is my belief. And one of the reasons I think people don't think herbalism is that powerful is because they've just been underdosed with weak herbs. And when you make when you give somebody a strong, powerful herbal concoction or decoction, then they begin to understand the medicinal effects. But if you've been taking really powerful, concentrated pharmaceutical medicine your whole life, and then somebody gives you a really weak herbal concoction, you're not going to feel that. So the key is to go strong. You could pack what's called a simpler's tincture, is when you fill your whole jar completely up and just cut with your herb. You just pack all your herbs right in there, and you can mix them all together. We could break up this reishi mushroom, for instance, pack it in there, break up this chaga mushroom, pack it in here, fill it right up, just pour vodka on the top of that, close it off.
Organic vodka, correct?
If you can get it. But to be honest, it's triple distilled. It's very clean. It's very clean when you buy a high-end vodka. When you go to buy vodka, you have the option of spending $5 on a half liter or $150 on a half liter, and the amount of money you spend to some degree reflects the quality of what you're buying. If you buy a good glass bottle triple distilled vodka, it's really clean. Organic would be a great place to start, but it's not all that available at most places you go. Most like liquor stores, for instance, aren't going to have it yet. If you ask for it, they might get it. So right. That would be fantastic. But it's called a simpler's tincture. You just pack it in there, cover it, seal it, put it away for 2 weeks.
In the dark?
In the dark. If you don't have to. But ideally, the idea for the alchemists was that you were incubating something. It was an incubation process. Sure. So you'd seal it up. They call it hermetically sealing it. The hermetic arts of the alchemical arts. So the term hermetically sealed means to seal up your alcohol tincture, your preparation, and leave it sitting. I know people that put them on big, powerful magnets, like the Peter Ragnar's the big foot plate magnets. Yep. You set them on that if you want to. And then as you get more into the esoteric side of it, you begin on a new moon. And then you let it go that 2-week process as the moon phase is building, and the moon begins pulling the liquids of the earth, and it starts to affect the consciousness of people. Also, the strength of your mix is getting stronger every day because more and more stuff's being pulled into it. So you build it with the moon phase, and then you take it on the descending moon, right? And so that's a way to tune yourself with the lunar cycle and more with what's actually happening in reality, as opposed to what's happening, sort of in our manufactured every day is the same. Nothing's affecting us from outside of our own, political drama. When in reality, there's a gigantic rock flying around the earth, pulling all the water and every living thing with it, including the crust of the earth, which moves in a gigantic wave following the moon.
So do you ever buy tinctures? Do you make everything yourself?
I used to buy tinctures. I just make them now. It's really cheap. Let me give you an example. I love all the health food companies out there. I'm really excited to see that there's an industry around it right now. I also really like to do things myself because I have a bit of a fascination with how things actually work, and that's how I learn personally. If you bought a tincture bottle this big, let's use cat's claw as an example. No, you know what, this is apricot kernel here. Let's use this as an example. Say you bought an apricot kernel extract. If you figure that 4 parts of this are alcohol and 1 part of this is going to be apricot kernels, that's about that many apricot kernels, and the rest alcohol, right? So what you're paying, say $17.99 for at the health food store is that many apricot kernels and a shot of vodka, right? So when you calculate the cost of it, it's actually absurd because for that cost, $17.99, you could make yourself a liter of that same thing. Where you could then feel, because if you buy a little bottle of this and it's expensive, your tendency is going to be use very little of it, when actually a dose of it might be half the bottle. And sometimes if you read the dosage, the dose is 2 to 3 tablespoons or teaspoons. So most people aren't taking enough. And so that enables you to really economically take as much as you want, make as much as you want, and really be in control of that.